you know, sit here in the front row. Tim did such a nice job reading his basket. Huh? No, I don't have it. Yeah.
Barb, you all set? They bring another chair up. You want Rose sitting next to you?
Doesn't matter.
Or I think Larry should sit next to you. Okay.
If anybody would like a chair, I could bring one out. Just raise your hand. My name is Susan Winkelstein, and I'm a funeral director with Chicago Jewish Funerals. We're about to begin the service for Mrs. Rosalyn Blankstein. Officiating this morning will be funeral celebrant Marguerite O'Connor. Marguerite.
We gather in loving memory of Rosalyn Blankstein. It is my sad honor to welcome you as we come together to celebrate the life and mourn the loss of Roz. Each of you comes with your own memories of Roz. Everyone has his or her own relationship, unique experiences, and stories to tell. Thus, no two people here will grieve the same way. The word eulogy comes from a word meaning to bless or to praise. Today we pay tribute to Roz, we acknowledge her unique life, and we affirm the significance of that life for all of you who shared in it. A reading from Anne Maureen Killering. We come together from the diversity of our grieving, together in the warmth of this community, giving stubborn witness to our belief that, in times of sadness, there is room for laughter. In times of darkness, there always will be light. May we hold fast to the conviction that what we do with our lives matters, and that a caring world is possible after all. Annie Dillard said, "The way we live our days is the way we live our lives." I invite Roz's daughter-in-law, Joanne, to share a poem.
She is Gone by David Harkins. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind and be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Thank you, Joanne. Beautiful. Next, Roz's grandson, Jeff, will share his tribute. Jeff?
So when I was reflecting on what to say today, I was thinking through all the years that I got to spend with my grandma, and so many wonderful stories came to mind. And I noticed a theme from these stories that fell into three different buckets. Roz as the grandma, Roz as the protector, and Roz as the Renaissance woman. So growing up, my brother and I were fortunate that Roz lived just minutes away from us, which meant we got to spend a lot of time with her. And she played that quintessential grandma role, which meant spoiling us rotten. Our childhood was filled with frequent trips to parks, museums, the zoo, theater, great restaurants, live music, the movies, you name it, she made it happen. She curated the world for us and exposed us to so much. We had countless sleepovers at her place, which always culminated in a trip to Mitchell's Diner on Clybourne for a grilled cheese and French fries. It was a tradition that she protected fiercely. I remember a particularly busy day when someone rudely swooped in and took the parking spot my grandma had been patiently waiting for a while. Steam started to emerge from her ears as she transformed into a grandma version of the Hulk, which was then followed by this unexpected, expletive-filled eruption with swear words that I didn't even know existed at the ripe age of 7. The gentleman, who I felt sorry for, who had taken our spot, heard this verbal rampage, stood in shock and horror looking at my sweet grandma, and then out of pure fear, quickly got back in his car, peeled out of the parking lot in a flash. She was sweet, but she could be feisty when she wanted to. Now that might seem small, but traditions like these were important to her because they were about creating moments of joy for us. But she played that role for everybody. Whether it was having people over for the high holidays, throwing parties to celebrate people's big moments in life, sending you a nice note out of the blue, supporting causes that were important, she cared about people and wanted to make the world great for them. At every dinner at her house, this used to really annoy me at the time, she would always be the last one seated because she wanted to make sure that everyone had what they needed before she even began to think of herself. She played the role of loving grandma for more than just Brian and me. She also played the quintessential role of the overprotective grandma for everyone that she knew and loved. In fact, if she were here right now, I guarantee you, she would have pulled many of you aside and voiced her concern that you weren't dressed warm enough for the occasion, no matter how many layers you had on. In college, I used to get these care packages from her, and they'd have movies in them, CDs, books, and always a newspaper clipping alerting me about some grave danger in the world. There was one about someone that got their leg bit off in a shark attack with a short note that said, "Jeff, swimming with sharks is really dangerous. Please don't do it. XO, Grandma." Another one about a skydiver in Australia whose parachute didn't open. "Jeff, skydiving isn't safe. The parachute doesn't always open. XO, Grandma." Right? Or the one about the dangers of automatic hand dryers in restaurants. The list goes on. But inland shark attacks, I lived in upstate New York at the time. Skydiving, I was afraid of heights. Rogue hand dryers. These weren't things high on my list of worries, but I appreciate that she was always thinking of my safety. And as the extended Blankstein family would know, a Thanksgiving dinner wasn't complete without her reading Uncle Stuart the Riot Act for their entryway stair not being to code or having a railing. She'd probably be bending his ear about it right now. And sure, she was protective and worried a lot, but it came from a place of love. Even at the age of 15, she still wouldn't let me cross Michigan Avenue without holding her hand. One of the things I came to really appreciate and understand later in my life was that she knew so much about so many things. She introduced me to the world of art, taught me how to pick stocks. She elevated my wardrobe from the not-so-cool Gap sweatsuits that my mom dressed me in frequently. She was well-traveled and shared her favorite sights from around the world. She was a sucker for architects and could regale you about the great buildings of the world. She was at home in any conversation and made anyone she was talking to feel like they were too. I remember the last thing we saw together was an opera called Dr. Atomic. My brother and I had never been to the opera, nor had my wife Laura, who joined us. And my grandma was so excited to introduce us to this. And I really did try my best to pay attention. I remember waking up halfway through the first act in a panic because I had fallen asleep. I didn't want to disappoint her. And so I was laser focused, watching and listening to every note thereafter. And then I started to hear this deep rumbling that definitely wasn't coming from the orchestra, only to look over and see that she had dozed off herself into a deep slumber and was snoring loud enough for the whole row to hear. Shockingly, none of us have returned to the opera. She had a vast catalog of things that she was interested in, and everyone might remember their own conversation with Roz when she introduced you to something new and unique. As one of her great nephews texted me the other day, she was a real cool lady. She showed us the importance of family and community. She introduced us to so many beautiful things. She loved to celebrate us on any occasion and always showed in small and big ways that she was thinking of us. And she most certainly tried to protect us the best way that she knew how to. I will remember her for all those things and more, and Grandma, I promise I won't swim with any sharks.
Thank you, Jeff. Beautiful. Now, great niece Ashley will share her memories of Aunt Roz. Ashley?
You never want to go after Jeff, but thank you. Okay, I won't be as funny. Genuine, beautiful, classy, welcoming, gracious, smart, sophisticated, and loyal. These are just some of the words that many have used to describe my great Aunt Roz. She was truly one of a kind. When we were kids and first heard of my Aunt Roz from our father, Uncle Stuart, he would always describe her as the one person who could actually tell him what to do and he would listen. The one older person outside of his parents he respected so much that he would actually let her give him advice and say something. That was a lot coming from him. It was a special bond that we knew about from day one and carried through to all of us. One of my favorite things about Aunt Roz was all of her incredible style and fashion. I loved her jewelry, especially her big rings. I remember that she loved artists, and she would tell me about the places that all of her rings would come from, whether it was a local artist near her home or from someone she met on her travels. There was always an interesting story and plenty of teaching along the way. I love fashion too, and I knew that came from Aunt Roz. Aunt Roz always celebrated Thanksgiving and some other holidays with us, either at the city in her 990 condo or in the suburbs at one of our parents' houses. Holidays are really important to her because family was everything to her. Every year at Thanksgiving, I would laugh with Jeff about the envelope of cash that Aunt Roz used to give to Brian and Jeff. I remember it every single year. She would circle the table and secretly give them the envelope of loot. I was always jealous too. I thought it was so generous that Roz contributed to Jeffrey's gambling problem, not realizing that she was enabling him to start betting crazy amounts while my father was the Vegas house trying not to lose all of his money. In very recent years, though, Jeff found himself in the same boat when the house, now Jeff, went belly up. What comes around goes around, always in good fun. Whether it was the youngest cousin or oldest adult, she was always genuinely interested in what my siblings, Lisa, Randy, and myself were doing in our lives, asking questions and challenging us all to keep her posted about what we were doing along the way. She truly cared, and that was what really mattered to her. She kept in touch with all of us during the years by phone, in person, email, or just a simple note in the mail. It didn't matter how long it had been since we had last saw her. She asked questions, had adult conversations, and engaged in our conversations with our children too. She always made you feel like you were the most important person in the room. I have great memories of my Lisa, Mom, and I going to visit Roz and Barbara to celebrate their birthdays over lunch. Sometimes we would go in, sometimes we would go to the city and have lunch in our apartment. There we got to know Rose really well. And Rose has been really an amazing friend and caregiver to Roz and Barb, and what a blessing we have all had to be able to have Rose in our lives. Aunt Roz loved the arts and shared her passion for museums, Broadway shows, the opera, and more. Many of us have shared on a number of occasions about a chance to see a performance with her and enjoy the time as we learned or saw something new. Roz had a special ability to share the arts with many of us. I will say that while there are many things we have in common, there is one very major big difference between all of us Blanksteins and Roz. Roz hated dogs. And she did not discriminate in this area either, as she disliked all kinds of dogs. The joke is that between all the Blankstein families, we probably have at least a minimum of a dozen dogs. But in my book, that could have been a deal breaker, but we all just looked past it. Roz was just that special to us. We couldn't wait to see her. I could honestly go on a long time about my Aunt Roz and what an amazing person she was, but you all know that already. It's time for us to lead by example as she always did. Nobody's perfect, but Roz was truly one of a kind and will be deeply missed.
Thank you, Ashley. Good job. And lastly, Brian's wife, Julia, will share a poem. Julia?
Before I begin, I'd like to share a little context of this poem. We all know that Roz was someone who valued the arts and culture and education. And one of the things that always impressed me about her was that even though she left college to get married, which was a pretty common choice for a woman of her time, she did something that was kind of unusual, and she decided to go back many years later and earn a degree in the humanities from Northwestern University. And I know that her educational experiences meant a lot to her, and there are a couple ways that I know that. One is how she would talk about going to Northwestern. She would joke a lot about how when she was a student there, her classmates were about the same age as her children, Larry and Barb. And you could see amid the jokes how much she had enjoyed her time and was proud of it, right? And another way that I know she valued her education so much is that when she left college the first time in the 1940s, she kept one of her textbooks, a literature textbook, which is this book that I'm going to read from. So she kept it for over 60 years. And the poem I'll be reading from is Marguerite Sorore by a Victorian poet, William Ernest Henley. A late lark twitters from the quiet skies, and from the west, where the sun, his day's work ended, lingers as in content, there falls on the old gray city an influence luminous and serene, a shining peace. The smoke ascends in a rosy and golden haze. The spires shine and are changed. In the valley, shadows rise. The lark sings on. The sun, closing his benediction, sinks, and the darkening air thrills with the sense of the triumphing night. Night with her train of stars and her great gift of sleep. So be my passing, my task accomplished and the long day done, my wages taken, and in my heart some late lark singing. Let me be gathered to the quiet west, the sundown, splendid and serene.
Thank you, Julia. Good job. Alan Cohen said, appreciation is the highest form of prayer, for it acknowledges the presence of good wherever you shine the light of your thankful thoughts. In the spirit of love and gratitude, our next reading, the 23rd Psalm, gives us the reason to continue and the courage to go on when we would sometimes rather give in. God taught us that when we go through challenging, difficult times, we are not alone. Psalm 23 speaks to that promise. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It has been said that when through one woman, a little more love and goodness, a little more light and truth come into the world, then that woman's life has had meaning. Roz was a loving and devoted mother to Larry and Barb. She had a huge heart, was very inclusive, kind, giving, and generous. As we heard, she valued and supported the arts and liked to visit the Art Institute of Chicago. She loved to travel. A classy lady, Roz appreciated and wore nice clothes. She enjoyed entertaining. Favorite treats were cheesecake and ice cream. The last 8 years of her life were a struggle, overshadowed with challenges from an Alzheimer's diagnosis. But she will be remembered for her hospitality and generosity, inviting friends and family for the Jewish holidays, for sending baby gifts to friends of the family, for bringing back gifts from her travels, and for enjoying time spent with her family, with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Roz's family members are deeply thankful for the quality of life that she enjoyed in her final years, and wish to express particular gratitude to Rose Williams, Angelo, Linda, and Marvin for the care they provided. In honor of Rose's devotion to her family, I share a poem entitled, A Reason, a Season, or a Lifetime. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When you figure out which one it is, you will know what to do for each person. When someone is in your life for a reason, it is usually to meet a need you have expressed. They come to assist you through a difficulty, to provide you with guidance and support, to aid you physically, emotionally, or spiritually. They may seem like a godsend, and they are. They are there for the reason you need them to be. What we must realize is that our need has been met, our desire fulfilled. Their work is done. The prayer you sent up is answered, and now it is time to move on. Some people are in your life for a season because your turn has come to share, grow, or learn. They bring you an experience of peace or make you laugh. They may teach you something you have never done. They usually give you an unbelievable amount of joy. Believe it, it is real, but only for a season. Lifetime relationships teach you lifetime lessons, things you must build upon in order to have a solid emotional foundation. Your job is to accept the lesson, love the person, and put what you have learned to use in all other relationships and areas of your life. Thank you, Roz, for all you have taught, for all you have accomplished, and for all you have given. Our next reading is We Remember You by Jack Reamer and Sylvan Kamens. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, in the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, in the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, in the blueness of the skies and with the warmth of summer, in the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, in all seasons, we remember you, Roz. We shall remember the times of joy. We shall remember the times of pain. We shall remember those quiet times of peace. And we shall remember the grief of parting. In all emotions, we remember you, Roz. For the examples lived among us, for the lessons taught and learned, for the concern felt about us, for the love shared with us. For all reasons, we remember you, Roz. Roz, we remember you. So long as we live, you too shall live. In that, you are a part of all who have known you. We are never ready for the physical departure and separation of our loved ones. What makes this funeral tribute sacred is the spirit of love and support that you bring to celebrate Roz's life and to share your compassion with her bereaved family and friends. We never get over the death of a loved one, but we do learn to reconcile the loss. We live on in the lives of those we imprint. We live on in the lives of those who love us. The relationships and the stories that Roz's life created will keep her memory alive. May your memories of Roz be a source of comfort, tears, laughter, and inspiration. May her memory be for a blessing. As we conclude the service for Roz, on behalf of her family, I again sincerely thank Roz's fabulous caregivers. Thank those who are here with us at the cemetery, as well as those participating remotely or virtually. We appreciate your caring presence, your many kindnesses and condolences, and we will now proceed with the burial. The Kaddish is not a prayer of death, but a reaffirmation of life. Our final prayer, the mourner's Kaddish. Magnified and sanctified be God's great name in the world which he created according to his will. May he establish his kingdom during our lifetime and during the lifetime of Israel. Let us say, Amen. May God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Blessed, glorified, honored, and extolled. Adored and acclaimed be the name of the Holy One. Though God is beyond all praises and songs of adoration which can be uttered. And let us say, Amen. May there be peace and life for all of us and for all of Israel. And let us say, Amen. Let he who makes peace in the heavens grant peace to all of us and to all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Family and friends, beginning with the family, are invited to shovel earth into the grave. This final act helps mourners with acceptance of our loss and is a charitable, unselfish act that cannot be repaid. We will add soil from the Holy Land, a sacred site in Israel. In tradition, I invite you to participate with 3 shovels of earth into the grave. Please return the shovel to the mound of earth rather than passing it to the next person. The next person will then take the shovel from there. I invite the immediate family to begin.
Anybody want to come beside too, they can do it.
This does conclude the service. That concludes the service at the graveside. For those of you that have joined us online and for those of you who are present, you can certainly log into ChicagoJewishFunerals.com or Legacy.com to share your personal condolences or stories with the family. Take care.